Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and a very good day to all of you, my dear students. I welcome you to lecture number 24 of report writing skills. If I talk about what we have just started in our yesterday's, or I would call it as the previous lecture, lecture number 23, and what we are going to cover in our today's lecture, it's all about understanding the basic concept of plagiarism. What it is, what are the consequences as a result of performing or committing the crime of plagiarism. We looked into its comparison with copyright, and then once these concepts were clear, we looked into those strategies, those ways through which we can avoid plagiarism as well. So if you remember what we talked about, and if I take you towards that slide as well, these were the things which were covered in our previous lecture. Basics of plagiarism, and then we talked about the ways of avoiding it. Of course, we use quotation mark, for which you see quotations over here. Then there is a way of citing the information of other sources, and then there is another mode of avoiding plagiarism, and that is paraphrasing. So we looked into the different examples, how do we paraphrase and how to paraphrase in which it remains free from plagiarism. And then we talked about some additional tips of avoiding plagiarism as well. Well, of course, we'll be starting from the basic concept of citation itself, looking into it, why is it so important, and from that citation we'll move towards the different styles of referencing, because of course this is the strategy that you have to adapt and you have to simply take into consideration to avoid plagiarism. But of course there are different styles of referencing through which you try to avoid plagiarism. And we are going to talk about the two different styles. Of course, there are other styles as well that I have mentioned within the slides. We will be looking into some details of these two styles. One, of course, is related to arts and humanities, whereas the other one is related to social sciences, a bit used in extent in different universities, academia, as well as the working organizations as well. So if we move ahead and start from citation, basically it's all about documentation of the original source. So just to keep it in record, acknowledgement, and referring to the one to whom the actual content basically belongs to. So it's like a street address for the court as well. So if you look at the point and if you read it at the first place, so you get confused, what do we mean by this street address for the court? Well, the thing is, you move around, you're on a road, and if you have to reach at a point, so you always require an address. If you're in a car, so of course if you have the exact address, if you know the street number, you would be able to go at the right place where the house is placed, where you have to reach. So that is basically the significance of a street address for you if you want to go at the exact house. And of course, if you're using Google Maps, so once again you require the exact name of the place, the street, the house, the sector, and only then you are able to reach at that point. So just the way a street address has the significance for you to reach at the original place, in a similar way, this citation is like a street address of reaching the source, the original source. This is the significance, which is why it's written here, a comparison of this quote and citation with a street address of a road. If you move ahead, it's like a reference to a published as well as an unpublished source. So something, of course, you have written and which will be published in future, but if it's being referred to, so that is basically citation as well. So it can be a reference of a source which is already published, and it's also a reference to something which belongs to another individual, though or be it unpublished, but you have to refer to it, you have to cite it for the acknowledgement of the other original author. Then of course it goes parallel with your writing. It should be done side by side, like you're writing your dissertation or any project, or you are composing your draft. But the thing is, wherever you are reading some literature, you are surveying literature, so you need to do this thing side by side, referring to different sources. Because if you tell yourself, I'll do this thing at the end, then do you really expect and you really imagine yourself to be going through all those books, those pages, those chapters, and those libraries, I would say, as well, those ebook resources as well, and searching for those exact points, those paragraphs and pages from where you have extracted the material and you have incorporated it in your material? So if you place it for like a final task, so you'll get in a lot of trouble. That's why it's written here that it goes parallel and should be done side by side as well. Then of course it's not something which could be overlooked and placed for the final task, because you'll be the one suffering if you are not doing it side by side. Therefore, what you can do is you have to mark all the sides for the citation. Just mark them while you are writing or while you are searching for the material. Then what needs to be documented? What are the things which falls under the category of those information sources which have to be cited, which have to be documented when you are placing them within your own document? Well, of course, they are exact words or unique phrases which have been copied, extracted, and to be quoted directly within your own content. Over here, copy doesn't mean that you are copying illegally. Rather, it means that you are basically using the exact wording of the other person who has written it himself or herself. So basically you are copying it, but it doesn't fall in plagiarism when you cite the original source as well. So that's a legal way of, you can call it as copying as well. Then when ideas presented in a book, magazine, newspaper, web page, TV program, letter, advertisement, or any other medium have been incorporated in your work. So all these examples are like also being incorporated in a work, so it has to be documented. When any diagrams, illustrations, charts, pictures, other visual material have been reprinted as well. So if these are being reprinted, of course, these are being printed another time. So they were printed once by the original source. Now you are reprinting it. Therefore, you have to cite these things as well. When information is gained through interviewing or conversing with another person, face to face or phone or in writing, so therefore the original source of information is someone else who is being interviewed, being conversed, or as a result providing you information through face to face or any other mode of communication. So you have to cite it as well. When any electronically available material including images, audio, video has been reused. So once used by one source, now it's being reused, therefore it has to be cited as well. It has to be documented. Why must we cite? Like we talked about it, but like a review, why it's so important. So the thing is, for acknowledgement, for giving credit to sources, you have to place a citation and you have to document the things to show that you're respectfully borrowing other people's idea rather than stealing them. That's not your motive, and that's why it has to be avoided. And to enhance the credibility of your research, because by giving the readers an opportunity to check out your sources for accuracy, you inspire readers' confidence that on one hand, it's not everything on your own, rather you are contributing in the big body of knowledge, big circle of knowledge, by first becoming part of it, reading all the material which is already there, and then after reading it, by citing some material from it, and then you have created a new work which is going to become part of that big body of knowledge, big subject matter in which you are trying to contribute as well. So that is how you enhance the credibility of your research as well. And that's how citation becomes important. Otherwise it would look like a story. This is also very much important. If you remember, I gave a reference of a policy that I'm going to talk about as well, like in this special meeting held on 14th of April 2007, Higher Education Commission. So this was the decision made, and that's why it's very much important to be shared with you as well. Why it's so important that we are teaching this thing as well, and once the awareness of this crime is there, then making you self-aware not to commit such a crime and try to avoid it as much as possible. The thing is that you have to preserve academic honesty and sanctity of the degrees awarded by universities and institutes in Pakistan, and for that HEC is going to have a zero tolerance policy towards any kind of plagiarism. So you have already seen the different kinds of plagiarism, and therefore you have to avoid all those things as you have seen within the examples, and that is how you are trying to keep yourself safe, very much safe, from becoming part of this plagiarism or the act of plagiarism. So therefore you will not face any penalty, you will not face any punishment or humiliation, because you are on the right track. That's why HEC's policy was very important to be shared here. Now, what need not to be documented? Of course, we have looked at those materials which have to be documented. Of course, now we know that everything which is being taken from the other sources have to be documented. So that means what cannot be documented should be something which original, created by yourself with your own ideas. So we'll put it in the form of points, writing your own lived experiences, observation, insight, thoughts, and your conclusion about any subject. So that's your own. When you're writing up your own obtained results through lab or field experiment, because you are basically the one who performed the experiment. When you use your own artwork, digital photographs, audio and video. So basically the point here is focus is on you basically, because you are becoming the source. When you use common knowledge, things like folklore, common sense observation, myths, urban legends and historical events, but not historical documents, because once again those documents belongs to someone else. Therefore you have to cite those historical documents. Other than that, this common knowledge is something common, and therefore common is something which is spreading everywhere. It's expected from all the individuals to be well aware of it. It doesn't belong to just a single individual who is like the originator of that source. So therefore no need to cite it, because it doesn't belong to any one individual, rather it belongs to everyone. So once you share this common knowledge, no need of any documentation. Now talking about those methods. Of course you have seen the ways to avoid plagiarism, and then it moves towards actually citing the sources. Well, for that citation there are different modes, and now you have them in front of you. These are the three modes. We simply write footnotes, we use endnotes, and the most common, parenthetical references. Within this diagram you can be told as well, in case of footnote, as the word itself suggests, you would have seen it as well within your own books that you read. At the bottom of a page there are times when there are references present. So when you look at the text once again, because within those references there are some numbers which are written previous to the reference itself. There is a number 1, 2, 3 and so on. And then if you look at the text itself, there are some numbers which are written within the text as well as a superscript, a small digit which is there like 1, 2. It would be written in a small font size. So for that point basically the reference has been provided at the end. So that becomes a footnote which is there on a page. If you move ahead and talk about the endnote basically, so within your pages you're going to find those numbers in superscript. But if you simply come towards the last page or the end page, I would say, just to make you understand, of a book, then you're going to have this heading of endnotes, and under the heading of that endnotes you'll have all those references which were in the case of footnote at the bottom of each page, or at the page in which there is a footnote. So these are the differences, minor differences, otherwise their use or application is almost the same, footnote and endnote. Whereas in parenthetical references, of course within the text you simply write the name of the author, comma, year of publication within parentheses, so that becomes a parenthetical reference for which you provide a list of references in the last page of your report or document, whatever you have prepared. So these are the different modes of citation. Now let's have a look at them and their examples, starting from footnotes. So of course you place a superscript number after the last word of the quotation. You place the superscript number at the beginning of a footnote at the bottom of same page where the citation occurs. For example, this is an example which is going to make things easy. This is a text and this is the number I was talking about. Now see this small number 6 written in superscript, and at the bottom of this page where this line is, basically you are going to find this reference, and this 6 number is going to indicate that this line has been taken from, this is the reference of that book. In your works cited page also you're going to provide a full reference in this form based on the referencing style that you are using, and we're going to look into it as well. If we talk about the endnotes, endnotes are also written in the same way as footnotes, just the way I told you. Minor differences are that footnotes are placed numerically at the foot of the same page. You have a page. If I show you one, I have one page over here as well. This is a page, and over here this becomes the foot, and over here you're going to find a reference as well. So these basic references are provided in case of a footnote at the foot of a place, whereas in case of endnotes these are placed numerically at the end of the essay on a separate page entitled as endnotes or notes. Now giving you the example, you have the word book encyclopedia defined this taboo as, and then the definition is here, and then you have this number 1 in superscript, and then you have a reference which would come, of course. Right now the reference is written just for your convenience, but the same kind of reference would come in the last page of endnotes sequentially 1, 2, 3, 4 all together in the form of a list. And then there will be a works cited page where you're going to provide a reference in a referencing style. Now coming towards the parenthetical references. So as I have already defined it, but basically these are simplest way of citing sources. What do you do basically? Author's last name and page numbers are placed in parentheses in the text to give credit to the source. There are page numbers, there are date as well. So you'll see author date and sometimes author page system. So it varies minorly, not a major difference. The basic thing is regarding this parenthetical citation that you have to provide reference to the original source by mentioning their last name and then referring to the exact page from where the quotation is being taken, otherwise the exact year in which the work was published. For example, in their previous, the author points out that HTML, now you can see that you are using something for the first time, so you are providing under the bracket abbreviation as well, and then another abbreviation is here, and then you have provided a reference. Now this is a parenthetical reference, and for that in your bibliography or works cited page, basically you provide a complete reference to look to the original source itself. This is the address through which you'll be able to reach the exact point of the origination. Now coming towards the referencing style, we are well aware of what citation is, why is it important. Now how can you do this citation where there are different referencing styles? And now we can show you, this is APA, stands for American Psychological Association. This is one style, then Modern Language Association, then Oxford referencing style, there is a Harvard referencing style, there is a Chicago referencing style. But the point is there are different styles. These are the common ones, of course. So among these, the focus would be on MLA as well as APA in our today's lecture, because once you go through these, I'm sure these one would be even difficult, a bit minor difficult to digest as well. But once you know how you basically provide a reference based on the style, I believe the rest would be easy for you as well, because it all depends on looking at the basic. There will be minor differences, but the point is you should know what are those key differences which should be kept in mind to make one referencing style different from the other. So for that, basically there will be two referencing styles that will be focusing in our today's lecture, starting from the one MLA, Modern Language Association, a style that is commonly used for arts and humanities and for such papers which basically belong to these domains. So in case of using an MLA referencing style, if you have to place a direct quote which is less than 4 lines, so it's placed of course within a paragraph, just the way I told you, that it becomes like an in-text citation rather than being a block text citation which is placed separately. So within the text it would be placed when there are less than 4 lines within a paragraph, and of course you're going to enclose these within quotation marks. Then you mention the author's last name and page number, as you will see as well. Right now this is one style in which you have written the name of the author separately. Joseph Conrad, a novelist, writes of the company manager in Heart of Darkness, and then there is this is the quote basically because it's there within quotation marks, and then a page number as well coming over here at the end within parentheses. This is one style. Then the style number 2 is the red tree vole is a crucial part of the spotted owl's diet, and then you have closed the quotation marks, then over here name of the author, then the page number. So these are two ways of citing, especially in case of less than 4 lines. Point here is that either if you place the name of the author in the beginning with a signal phrase, then at the end you basically have to provide the page number or the year within parentheses. On the contrary, if you are providing the exact quote in the beginning within quotation marks, then you have to provide the author names as well alongside the page number or the year within parentheses as the second case. We move ahead, and in looking towards the block course, of course, the course which are separate from the original text being written by you, of course, which is your own writing. So rather than placing the quote within your writing, if you are placing it separately as a block, just the way I had drawn one in the previous lecture. I did it yesterday, so that's why I mentioned yesterday's lecture as well, because it would become even convenient for me to follow up from the point that I have discussed in the previous one so that I may not forget. Well, anyways, that's how you have made a separate block. That's how the rest of the text was coming, and all of a sudden there is a block. So for that block, which is of course in case of longer than 4 lines, you place it separately by indenting it by 1 inch. Indentation is the option of indentation is available. You simply write the text and right click over it in a Microsoft Word document. So the option of indentation is also available. You indent it by 1 inch by selecting it, right clicking over it, and then the option of paragraph is there, and from that you can simply click on indentation, and it will simply ask you for how much do you want to indent, how much in inches. So over there you can simply select the option of 1 inches and it will be applied. If we move ahead, this is the example in which you basically write it in block form. So at the conclusion of Lord of the Flies, Ralph and the other boys realize the horror of their action, and then the text is being provided in the block format. So this is one example as well to look into. In case of a text which is like not a direct quote, so of course it won't be in quotation mark because it's an indirect quote. So first point is that try to cite it directly rather than being an indirect text. What do we mean by this indirect quote? If there is an other author who has actually read the source, and rather than looking at the material of the original source, looks at the other author who has searched for that original source, being the secondary source, that author that you are referring to is the secondary source, and you are becoming like a tertiary source. The original source of writing becomes the primary source. which is observed, or the data is being collected of the primary source by the secondary source, which becomes the indirect source for you, and you taking the data from that secondary source becomes a tertiary source. So in such kind of citation, it's always a suggestion to, even I used to get such suggestions from my teacher as well, that rather than quoting things indirectly, try to find the original source, the primary source. It would become more authentic. It would look like a real effort for finding things by the original one. But still, if it becomes difficult to find the original source, if you have to cite the material all collected and gathered by the secondary source, for that you have to do what? For that, the thing is that you have to name the primary source, the first source, the main writer in your original phrase, and then include the secondary source in parentheses with writing this qtd.in refers to quoted in. So you have to write this qtd.in, which would mean that quoted in secondary source. So first you have to, of course, highlight the main writer, the main author, the primary source. The example is going to make things more comprehensible. Include the indirect source in works cited list as well. Cite primary source, cite secondary source as well. Cite both of these. None of these two should be ignored. Both should be there. So now you look at the example. Jackson stated that, and then 3 dots basically refer to the text, basically, which Jackson has pointed out. Right now we have used ellipsis just to make things easy and simply lead you towards the thing that basically has to be understood. So quoted in Johns, qtd.in Johns, this becomes the secondary source, or let me write 2. This is the secondary source, this is the primary source, and you will be the tertiary source, because from you basically the information will be transferred to the other people. Well, Jackson was the first person who said something. This was quoted by Johns. That's why you're providing its reference as well within parentheses by writing qtd.in, quoted in, and then as quoted in by Johns, which you have read, now you are saying this thing as well. So you have to provide the primary first, then write secondary, and then say the things as well, as you have said within ellipsis. Moving ahead, in case of 2 to 3 authors, just keep in mind we are on MLA style, Modern Language Association style, because you have to study the other style as well. Might be looking a bit difficult, but if you are following things one by one, it would be easy for you to follow up as well, because there is a minor surprise at the end of the lecture as well. Don't drag the video to see the end. Point here is just stay towards these points. First finish it up and then you can move ahead. In case of 2 to 3 authors, studies have shown that more and more teachers are changing careers after their first year of teaching, and then you are providing the names of these authors as well. This is the case when there are 2 to 3 authors. In case of more than 3 authors, then you have to use this expression of at al or at all. It's pronounced in both ways. Some say at al, some say at all. It's a Latin expression which means and the others. This is the meaning. So it means studs and the others argue that language development may also impact development in related parts of the brain. So when do you say and others? When there are people more than 3. In case of 2 to 3, you are allowed to mention their names, but in case of more than 3, it starts and the others. That's how you do it. You and others. So you can say it as well, you et al. Now moving ahead and looking at some of the references. In case of a book, right now, in case of a book that you have to provide within the works cited list, so that's how you do it. You first write the last name of the author, then a comma is here, then the first name of the author. Basically you use their initial. For example, if I have to make an initial of myself, would be A. Ahmed, because it would be. So I would write Ahmed over here, A over here, then a dot, then title of the book written by me, then dot, then my city, then a colon, then publisher, then a comma, then the year of publication, then a dot, and then the format. That's how you do it. What is the format? You will see within the example as well. If we discuss the first one, last name, comma, first name, dot, then you have the title, then you have colon, which means this is the name of the book, a novel, so that's why. Then you basically have the city, then you have the publisher, then you have the year, and then you have a format. This is one example through which you basically cite in case of a book in a work cited. Yes, it becomes a bit technical for me as well. That's why I'm just looking into each and every point so that I may not miss out, I may not misguide you either as well. So try to keep up with me and follow up so that you may not get confused. So if I move ahead, you can look at the other example as well. If I take you ahead to the next point, article in a reference book, how do you cite it? So this is an example for a reference book. Once again, you have last name, then the first name over here as you can see it, then the detail, the source, the publisher, the edition, the year, and once again the format. In case of an ebook, now I'm at ebook, this is basically the format. Once again, starting from the names, then the name of the book, the source, then you have the city, then you basically have the publisher, the year, and a Kindle file. You'll be aware of Kindle as well. It's a device for reading books, of course, and the books which are in the format of this Kindle, of course, can be read as well. So you have to, however, provide this format details as well. This is the place, whether it was a printed version or an ebook or a Kindle file. So you can mention it over here as well. This is also a format here for you in case of a journal publication. So for that, you have last name, comma, first name, then the title of your article within quotation marks, then the journal title, its volume, then its issue, then its year, then the page numbers, and then you provide the database name if applicable, then the source, the year in which you have accessed that website through which it is available, which can be accessed. This is basically the format. And to make it more specific, in case of an online magazine article, this is basically the way it can be done. For an online magazine article, the first name, the last name, then the title, then of course the duration, the pages, then the format, the source, the year. So these are minor things which should be there within your mind. If you want to do it manually, of course, you should know these minor mistakes, because these minor things are checked, especially I'm telling you for all those researchers of the future who want their paper to be published in recognized journals, national and international journals. When you are submitting your paper, these are the things which are looked into, because they really want to know whether you are careful within these minor things as well. Because if you are careful regarding and with respect to these minor things, you would be also careful with respect to your minor changes within the results as well, because these minor changes can have a big impact. Therefore, it's like an assessment of how careful you are when it comes to reasoning and interpretation of your data till the minor details of that data. In case of an online journal article, so of course you have once again the last name, then the first name, then the title, then the name of the journal, edition, issue, of course, then the year, then you're mentioning the page number, then of course the source and the time when it was accessed. So in case of an online newspaper article, once again format almost goes in the same direction. As you can see, title, and then the journal, newspaper, then and the duration, and then the publisher, the source, and the way it was accessed. The mode is almost the same. This is the basic skeleton, I would say. This is the basic skeleton in which all the information is provided and incorporated becomes a bit tricky and technical. Of course, I realize it as well while teaching it. To be honest, it took me a while as well to go through this material again and again and collecting all the authentic information for you to guide you smoothly in a good flow, so that things may not get jumbled up and chaotic within your own mind as well. At the end of the lecture, you may not say it's all simply fussy or I am unable to get anything at all. I have tried to streamline things right from the beginning till the end. Hopefully at the end you'd be able to find those minor differences as well, which would make a difference when you are using a particular referencing style as well. Well, if we move ahead, this is the one which is applied in your case as well, and I want you to simply be very much careful within the discussion of the APA referencing style, the American Psychological Association as well. A style which is basically applied in case of social sciences and the other domains as well, used quite a lot, which is why its application and its use should be understood very carefully as well. The previous one is also used. Its idea would have helped you to understand different concepts, but now I want you to be very much careful. It's known as the author date citation system, because these two things are important and should be provided. You provide an author date and then you provide the detailed reference at the end. So this author date would come along with those quotations, those paragraphs that you are using, that you are placing within your text, and then the detailed reference at the end. Now let's look into it, what APA is and how do you use it. For that, basically, within your document that you will be preparing, of course, how to begin with, you should use a serif typeface. As you know, whenever you open up a document, a Word document, it's either in Calibri or in some other typical font. So pick this serif style, and from that, Times New Roman is basically the serif font. And in case of some diagram that you have to represent, for that you can use sans serif, that is basically Arial. It can be chosen as well, a style which is also used in case of a presentation as well, because the things which matter is visuality, basically the vision, the appearance, whereas in case of making things to be read, you use the serif Times New Roman. The other thing to be focused in case of this APA style is that you basically keep this line spacing to be 2, or you can call it as double space. The entire manuscript is double spaced, double enter or line spacing being 2. Between the body text, titles, headings, block quotation, reference list and figure captions as well. In case of indentation, in case of every paragraph, you have to indent the first line by 1/2 inch. You can do it by, in case of your keyboard, you simply click on tab. That is going to indent the line as well. Making it more particular, of course, you can change the setting of indentation as well, that whenever you click on the tab, it should be 1/2 inch. Not more, not less. But whenever you click on tab, it should be 1/2 inch, and should be done in case of every paragraph's first line. In general, in case of this APA format, you have to align the text to the left hand margin whenever you are writing. So you align it to left, because at the top of a document, this alignment option is available for you. You can do it in center, you can do it in right. Well, in this case, of course, you place it left. Left hand margin, meaning you leave the right hand margin rough. Then, in case of using that typical paper in which you are going to get a hardbound copy, so that should be ideal size is this one, the letter format, which is 8.5 into 11, which is used. This is the standard size of the paper which should be used in case of an APA referencing style. Then all the page margins in journal should be 1 inch. This is basically the one which you can simply do settings as well in case of your Microsoft document by going into the size, and from that you can look into the option of page margins and select 1111 on all sides. You can do custom changes as well, but otherwise this is the general way and probably available as well within document itself by default. Then the general font size for the text is 12 point, which you can use for Times New Roman or the similar font, of course serif font. Then include a page header, running head. This is very technical and I had to go through a lot, to be perfect myself, to be able to guide you easily as well, because if I'm confused I won't be able to guide you either. So look into this point. Include a page header, which is also called running head, in the upper left hand of every page and a page number in the upper right hand side of every page. And this running head, which is basically the title, should be less than 50 characters. The point here is running head or page header is basically the title of your research, your report, but the point here is that it's called a running head because it's running at the top of every page and it's like the head of every page. That's why it's called as a running head or a head topic, which is running on each and every page. It would be there. It's like a header that you have on every page. But how to place it, especially in case of your first page, when you have to select this topic so that you write it once at the top of a single page and it would come automatically on every page where you're doing all the typing. For that, you have to double click on your Microsoft document page at the top, double click, and over there the header footer option will open. Over there you have to simply click on insert header, and on that header you'll be provided, or on the left hand side, the good thing is that you simply select the option of insert header. From that insertion header option you will be provided with like a bar would be there on which you can just type your things. So over there you can write, simply type running head, first type it and then placing a colon, then you write your topic of your report, topic of your research topic, whatever it is, in capitalized form. So it should be capitalized. Your caps lock option should be turned on while you are typing your topic and then you type it. But of course the running head, when you are typing the word running and head, so it should be in upper and lower case in both forms, as we have the example for you. But few points before I take you towards the example. You click on the top of the page, double click over it, header footer option will open. From that, of course, you click on the insert header, the topic option will open. You simply type the name of the topic. Before that, of course, you have to first write running head, then colon, and then the topic. And that's how you will simply, right after writing or typing the topic, in this simply click on the tab button twice or thrice, through which that typing bar will go at the right side, top right side. And once it has gone towards the right hand side, then you can simply click on insert page. Page will simply open up a rundown from which you can simply select the option of page, whether it should be on right and left. Well, you have to simply say current position. You have to click on the option of insert page on current position. Of course, that current position has already been dragged towards the right hand side by clicking on the tab button. Therefore, it would say on right hand side. Many of you would simply say, teacher might be telling us a difficult way, we know a simpler way as well. Well, you may know, but I am especially trying to explain each and every point right from the basics, so that if there is someone new who doesn't know how to simply select the options, he may be able to follow it up as well. So of course, another way of doing it, that you simply insert page, click on the insert page option, and then insert page on the right hand side. If you simply click on that option, the page would appear, page number 1 would be there, and then you simply click on any other point on the page, and then once again double click on the header and then click on the left hand side. The bar will automatically appear on the left, which means now you have the space of typing the topic as well. Page number would stay on right, whereas the topic would stay on the left. So that is also another way of writing topic on, or I would say the running head on the left, page on the right. This is basically, I would say, like a summary when it comes to writing or selecting a running head and how to write it, and especially in case of your title page. Now you're well aware of what is basically a title page, especially in case of a report, the first page. So if you have to place a running head, how do you do it? You basically write running head, then a colon, and then a capitalize top left corner topic, a topic which would be placed on the top left side. First you write running head, then a colon, and then within capitalized version you're going to write the topic itself on the top left, then the page number on the top right hand. Just like I would take few seconds to repeat, so that still if someone is confused, you may know how to do it. You have a blank page, double click at the top, header footer will open. Over there, click on the option. If you look at the top, you will see insert page. Insert page, click over it, insert page on the right. You will be taken directly towards the top right corner. Simply insert page over here, the number 1 will appear, page number 1. If you drag it ahead, page number 2, 3, it will come automatically. Once again, click on any other side of the page. Once again, for the third time, click on the top of the page, double click, and once again, now the header footer option will open, but this time if you click on the left hand side, the bar will automatically go towards the left and you can write the topic as well. So there are both ways in which you can do it, but that's how it is. And still even confused, just Google it, how to place header and footer, how to write topic on the left and page number on the right in a Microsoft Word document. You'd know how to do it, because even I've looked at those videos as well myself to make it more easier for you to understand. But now I have to move ahead actually. So you place full title of the paper. Now I'm talking about the title page, not the running head. Running head is the topic that you write at the top, at the header. Now I am at the center of the page, so centered title with upper and lowercase letters shouldn't be more than 12 words. It should be less than 12 words. Right after that, your own name would be there, centered. Your affiliation, ComSets have to be in centered, and then any additional note about affiliation should come at the bottom of the page, and everything should be done with double spaced. So if we move ahead, this is basically the example. As you can see over here, just zoom it in and you will see it's written over here. Running head is here in upper and lowercase, then a colon, and then the topic is there in capitalized form. Over here the page number is also here, and this is basically the running head, and right after it you have the topic, name, affiliation, everything is coming. That's how you basically prepare a title page. Then you basically write an abstract. You know how it is. You can call it as the executive summary as well, but if you have to write it, basically it has to be left aligned and justified. At the top of doc, alongside the alignment, there is a fourth option as well of justify. When you click over it, all the text becomes balanced and equal. So you have to do it as well. In case of your abstract, shouldn't be 150 to 250 words. Yeah, this is basically the length of which your abstract should be, or the executive summary should be, not more than that. In case of writing keywords, first indent and then italicize. The word itself, if you have to write keywords of your report or your research at the bottom of your abstract, so first you have to tab or simply indent, take it ahead, the bar of typing, then click on italics to make it italic, and then you type keyword, so that the word keyword itself, when it's written rather than the K, should be in this form, so that it's basically a bit in italic, tilted. However, the rest of the keywords, which are actually the keywords used within your research, should not be in italics. Only the word itself, keywords, should be in italics. If we look at the example, you look at this line over here, the keywords have been provided, whereas this keyword itself is written in italics, the rest is all the same. Just a point which I missed, I would like to mention here. Now look over here. This is basically the point that I want you to remember. For all the rest of the pages, I'm not referring to the title page. In title page, of course, you write running head at the top. And by running head, I mean RUNNING HEAD. You write it. at the title page. However, for the rest of the pages, you do not write this running head, rather just the title itself in capitalize. This is the difference of the title page from the rest of the pages. And a quick tip I'm going to give you as well to make it, how to make it a bit different. There is a small button. Once you move ahead, this option comes over here. You are typing, you have gone to page 2 or 3, and you will see, you will witness that once you have written this header, running head, so the word running head is also being provided. It's also being automatically retyped on every page top. To make it different, which is basically the case, the running head word itself should not be there at the top. Only the topic should be there in the rest of the pages. In a Microsoft Word document, there is a button, different first page. It's there at the top. You check it, so all of a sudden it will take you once again back to page number 1, right from scratch. And the rest of the pages, topic will be the same. But in case of your first page, it will ask you that what topic do you want to give in your first page. In that case, of course, you can just simply write first a running head, and then you can place a colon and then a topic. So you'll be wondering, wasn't it the case that we have already written running head and it's being repeated in our every page? Now if the teacher is once again telling us to write running page in the first page, what difference does it make? Well, it's common sense that first you have to write just the topic itself in capitalized version and make it a header, and then it will be copied to each and every page. But to make your first page different, click on different first page, check it, and then it will take you once again to page number 1 over here. Type it, running head, colon, then the topic in capitalized version, and then move ahead by placing a page number as well. So in this way, your title page would be different from the rest of the pages as well. Too much technicality, making you a bit confused as well. I'm looking at the time as well. So let's move ahead. In case of your main body, I believe the rest of the things would be easy to grasp. This was a bit technical, that's why I took a bit time, because I did a bit of practice as well to be clear myself and then tell it to you. Title of the paper at the top of the page, now it would appear capitalized and without any confusion of running head. Running head won't be written there. Double spacing with all sections following each other without any break. Of course, double spaced is the format of APA. Identify the sources you use in the paper in parenthetical in-text citation form. Now in-text citation basics, especially in case of your APA format. You provide the author's last name, its year of publication, and for the source should appear in text as well. For example, this is the way that whenever you write something from a source, you write its last name and then year within parenthetical form. In-text citation basically is for helping readers locate the cited source in the reference section of the paper. Street address. Whenever you are using a source, you have to provide it in parentheses, the author's name and date of publication, and in case of exact quotation and closed paraphrases, you have to provide author's name, date and page number as well, especially in case of things which are like word to word exactly quoted. So you place them in quotation marks and then you provide a page number for it as well from which it has been taken. Formatting quotations. How do you basically format those exact quotations which are being taken? So you basically start from a signal phrase. You're going to see within the example, you begin with the signal phrase in which you mention the original source, and then alongside you mention the year of publication, the page number as well. But overall, citation has to be kept brief as well and without repeating any information. So this is the original source. Caruth 1996 states that the information comes ahead alongside the page number. So you have author, year, and then page number. That's how you provide things side by side. A dramatic response frequently entails a exact quotation within quotation marks. Has been quoted here, no signal phrases, because signal phrase is the one in which you mention the author and then some signal words as you're going to see ahead. So you provide things simultaneously at the end by writer, year and page number. Formatting a summary or paraphrase. Of course, in this case, you are simply formatting or setting up how to cite a summary or a paraphrase, being not the exact code, so there will not be any quotation marks. So in that case, you basically write the author's name and page number. No author's names, and my apologies, year of publication, because you're not using the exact quotes, no quotation marks. In case of formatting a summary or paraphrase, in case of several authors, now we're going to look into when there are more than one authors, then what are the points which have to be kept in mind. Include the author's name in a signal phrase followed by the year of publication in parentheses. Now there are more than one authors and there are different years as well. So in that case, you have to mention different authors. Over here, if I am using at all, not me, of course, the example which has been taken, that means that HUM102 didn't work all alone. There are few other authors who have worked alongside with him, but to make it short and to the point, you have sent HUM102 and others 1987 have worked on something as revised something, history of warfare. Then something was done by Marcus separately, Wright and Tate in 1997. And in this way you have mentioned everyone. A group is being mentioned by at all, so things are being kept separate. In case of signal, now for citation, how do you basically use a signal phrase? So these are the signal phrases. According to Mr. X, whoever he is, year 2008, this is the information which was quoted under quotation marks, and then you provide a page number. Another way of signal phrase is you mention the name first, that Ahmed 2008 said this or argued that, and then the information is coming and then page number. If you move ahead, what are the different signal verbs which are used? So X acknowledged, Y contended, Z maintained that this and this. So these are the different expressions which are used to signal, which is why these are mentioned here. And in journal, you use the past tense or present perfect tense of verbs in your signal phrases. In case of a work with two authors, now there is a work that you have to mention within your writing, and in case there are two authors, so these are the things which should be kept in mind. If you are writing within the text, you have to mention it within writing. So you are going to use the word and, A and D, within your writing. As when citing a work with two authors, use and in between author's name in a signal phrase. If these are being mentioned within a signal phrase, then use this and if these are mentioned within parentheses at the end, then use this expression known as ampersand, AMPERSAND. This is what it refers to. This expression, I am trying to make it, let's see if it's the right one, but it refers to and it's known as the symbol ampersand, as used over here. So here we have a and in this example we have and, ampersand. This is the difference, that if you are using within the text A and D, out of the text ampersand. When citing a work with 3 to 5 authors, now the story has gone a bit ahead. No more 2 authors, now we have 3 to 5 authors. When citing a work with 3 to 5 authors, identify all authors at the beginning, just the way you have done it. Harklow, Segal and Lucy, 1999. Once you have cited them, mention their names, surnames together. In subsequent citation, the citation which would be coming within the same work, but afterwards only use the first author's last name followed by at all. So this is the difference. First time mention all the names, all the rest of the times mention at all, as done in this form. In case of a work with 6 and more authors, so 3 to 5 is one story. Now we are looking at 6 and more authors, so no need to mention even for the very first time. Start from at all. When citing a work with 6 and more authors, identify the first author names followed by at all. So just directly mention at all and start with the signal phrase, and even you can mention it at the end in the form of parenthetical citation as well. Now talking about the organization, we are not talking about authors. If we are looking into the organization's name, and if it's an organization's name which is being used for the first time, so you simply use the organization's full name at the very beginning. Food and Drug Administration. If the organization has a well-known abbreviation, so for the first time you mention it, Food and Drug Administration, and alongside you mention the abbreviation as well, so that the reader become aware of it, that whenever you're going to use FDA, it would refer to this, and as written over here, that, and then use only the abbreviation in later citation. That for the first time, if it's a well-known abbreviation, you may provide the abbreviation alongside the actual words itself, but afterwards you have the space of using it just the way it's being used. FDA experts tested that this. Same last name or same author. These are two different situations. If I talk about two people which have the same last name, well, of course, in case last name are the same, then how do you try to distinguish two people who have the same name? You try to look at their first name, even if you are referring to, if you want to talk about your friends as well who have the same name. The person was a bit fat, or the person was a bit skinny, then you try to come up with these kind of expressions. The person who has curly hair, the person who is always just trying to be introvert, you have your own ways of explaining things, but in writing you basically do another thing, which is that you use their initial with the last name. As in this case, this is Mr. B, whereas this is Mr. Y. Otherwise they have the same surname of Kachru, but the thing is their initial is different. Now talking about the same author who has like published different works within the same year, and now you want to cite the different works of the same author, different works which have been published within the same year as well. For that you basically use the symbols of ABC. For example, Smith's first work can be mentioned as 1998A. Smith's second work published in 1998 would be 1998B, and the third one would be C, and so on. That's how, depends on the number of works. So that's how you can use these ABCs as well. In case of personal communication, you have to refer that it was a personal communication as well, be it in the form of interview, letter, email, but you provide a reference of it as well. It was personal communication alongside the date. This is the way. Also claim that many of our students had difficulty with APA, and then within brackets you mention that it was a personal communication. However, this mentioning of personal communication shouldn't be there within your reference list. It should be different, not in case of the reference list, as written in point number 2. In case of your electronic sources, well, the point is try to cite it in the author date style, but if you are unable to do it, then of course try to search for, identify their paragraph number and heading as done over here. Topic, section, paragraph number 6. So that's how you have to make things easier for the reader to follow. Now looking at the reference page, what points should be there in mind while you are preparing your reference page? That's how the reference page should appear. Of course, you can see the first line of each reference is on the left, whereas the second line has this one, and this one, of course. So these are basically the second lines of the same reference. These are indented. It's called hanging indentation. The option of this hanging indentation is also available within your Word document. You simply select all and then right click within the paragraph setting, you go in the indentation option, and from that you can click on the hanging indentation. The second line of each subsequent line of each reference would be tilted as though you have clicked tab on each reference. So that's how you basically make a difference, but it has to be specific. So you simply write references in the center, no need to bold it. You double space all your reference, flush left the first line should be left, whereas the subsequent lines would be indented. And then order entries alphabetically by the author's surname. So it should be alphabetical depending upon what is the last name or the surname of the author. So the people with A would come first, B afterwards, and this order should be there followed within their name afterwards as well. Now these are some of the basics. How do you basically write a reference? So you basically invert author's name, last name followed by their initials, Smith, J, Q. You alphabetize your reference list entries. As I mentioned earlier, you capitalize only the first letter. This is important. You capitalize only the first letter of the first word of your title. First word, first letter of your title has to be capitalized. In addition to this, first word which comes after a colon or a dash has to be capitalized as well in the title, as well as proper noun should be capitalized as well. No need to capitalize the first letter of second word in a hyphenated compound word. So this is the point which should be kept in mind. Moving ahead, these are the basics. You capitalize all the major words in your journal titles. If there is a journal in which there is a publication, so you have to capitalize all the words of that journal when you are mentioning it. Italicize titles of longer works. They are books and journal names, so you have to italicize as well. Italicize basically is for making things important, because if they are in italics, they are being made more significant compared to the rest of the work. Point is, do not italicize, underline or put quotes around the titles of shorter works such as journal articles and essays. When you are mentioning chapters or articles or essays of a big book basically, or a big journal, so you basically italicize the journal name or the book name rather than the chapters, because chapter is something which comes within it. The important thing is actually the book, the main source itself, which has to be italicized. In the printed version, when there was a time of typewriter, of course, the option of this tilting or italicizing wasn't there. So at that time, basically, people used to underline rather than italicizing. They used to underline to make things, books name and journal names, more important. But now we have this ability, and it has to be used as well with care and caution. Now basically, how do you make a reference list, make things easier? These are steps. So you basically identify the source first of all when you have to cite it, whether it's a book or an article or a web page. Then you have to search for a sample. If you click online on this OWL APA guidelines, which are there on this link as well, you will have different formats. So then you have the samples, and now you can tally it from the source that you have to cite as well. So once you find the exact format, that this is the format which you have to use, mirror that sample and then make sure the entries are also there in the alphabetical order in the references. In case of table, this is important. Whenever you have to place a table within your document as well, label those tables with Arabic numerals that we use, as you can see, which is coming as well, and provide a title. First, you basically use an Arabic numeral, which is coming ahead. Label the title, and the title appear on separate lines above the table by flashing left and single spaced, and you cite a source. But the point basically is that whenever you have to place a table, first you have to use these Arabic numerals 1, 2, 3, as you have it over here. This is basically the numeral that they were referring to, and alongside with the colon you place the topic, left hand side, single spaced, and then you have the table over here. The second point is that you have to provide a note as well at the bottom of this table, which is basically providing the detailed reference from which the table has been taken. So that's how you basically within your own documents that you'll be preparing, whenever you have to place a table, so at the top of the table with a separate line, first write table within table number in Arabic numeral and then the topic, and at the bottom of the table a note as well. In case of book, these are some of the formats now which are coming that I want you to be very much careful regarding their formatting and example. In case of a book, what you do is placing author's last name, then the first initial. In case of an ML, if you remember now, this is the difference, that this if there is a name or which is basically composed of three names. If there is a person who has a first name and a middle name and a surname, well, in that case, of course, this middle name becomes like an initial, whereas the first name is also mentioned. First the surname, then comma, and then the first name, and then the middle's initial. That was the case in case of MLA. But over here, author's last name, comma, first initial, dot, date of publication, within parentheses, then dot, again the book title, dot, additional information, dot, publication city, colon, publishing company. As you have a name, you have the year of publication, you have the book title, you have the city, you have the publishing company in detail. Everything is coming one by one, and the other example is almost the same as well. In case of an encyclopedia or dictionary that you have to cite, again the format: last name, first name, date, title, title of encyclopedia, its volume, its pages, publication city, and the company. This is the case, as you can see as well. All the details are available for you. Go through it. If there is something tricky, I have a good news for you. This is the second example here. You can follow it easily. In case of magazine and newspaper article, this is like a format and a minor thing about which you have to be a bit more careful. You basically start with last name, comma, first name, dot, date of publication, article title, periodical title, volume number, issue number if available. Even while telling you, I understand how difficult it is. So I understand, but try to follow it up. One point that has to be kept in mind is the use of double P or P. These basically refer to page number, but these are basically used in case of referring to newspapers in APA format. This is the thing. Double P or P, these are basically provided when you are not referring to volume number. Then you use these double P. As within these examples you will see, this is one example, this is the second example, and this is the third example. Over here you have this double P. So double P is used basically when there is no volume number, and basically in case of newspapers. In case of a website or a web page, basically these are the things which have to be formatted and in this order. Once again, starting with author's name, date of publication, title of the article, title of periodical, volume number, and the month in which it was retrieved, the year, and a full URL, basic link from which you have tried to access the information. In case of an online document, once again, name, publication date, title of the work, retrieved month, date, year, and the full URL. That's how the things come, and I understand there are different ways, so therefore these are the different examples. And I am with you. I understand that it can be a bit difficult to follow up as well, even at my own time. Whenever I have to go through these references, I used to have problem. I really used to have problem because it used to give me a bit trouble when it comes to citation. But technology itself has made things easy. Just the way I'm able to reach you, you are able to follow up all the lectures. So technology has tried to help us in every way, which is basically the good news that I have here for you. When it comes to the different resources which can be very much helpful for you when you really want to manually do each and every step. Well, of course, these are the sources. OWL is a very good site from where you can just simply look into all the formats, referencing style, how to cite a book, how to provide a reference of a web page, a periodical, an article, just the way as I have discussed them with you. Well, these are the sources that you can simply look into. Some of the examples have also been provided by extracting from the same source. These are very good guide. However, why I was saying is that I have a good news at the end for you is that citation has been made quite easy with these resources, and these are used quite common nowadays, and I don't think it would be something new or very difficult for you. So therefore, some of the things were recommended to me by my colleagues as well, that you should share them within your lectures, which is why I thought that the ones that I know are the ones that I would certainly like to share with you all. Well, these are the good sources, and if I talk about Microsoft Word, of course. This is how you can basically, while you are writing things, so if you look at the top over here, this is the place where you can click on references, and over here you can clearly see over here basically the style is there, APA referencing style over here. This is the point that I am making a bit yellow. When you click on it, insert citation, this box open up. Over here you have the place, you can simply select, you have to mention name of the author, title, journal name, year, pages, and you click on this OK, and that will create a citation for you alongside the text. And once you click over here on bibliography, over here at this point you can see within this same central circle there is an option of bibliography. Once you click over it and click on references, a reference list will be prepared for all the citation which you have made. Making things a bit more easier, this is also another source which is mentioned here, cite fast. It is fast to cite here by using this cite fast option. As you can see, these are the formats which are provided here. Once you click on APA, it will ask you, please provide us the author name, please provide us the journal name, the year. These things should be there within your mind if you really want things to be generated automatically. So you have to provide these information at least, because that will show that you really have read something, and I don't think it would be that difficult for you to follow up. So taking you towards another source recommended to me as well, BibMe is like, do this bibliography for me. So the thing is, once again, the styles are available, APA, MLA, Chicago, and even more, just the way as I have told you. But this is a site in which you can make your own account. That account will help you maintain a record of it as well. Once you select this APA option, another good thing is that whatever you want to cite or for whatever you need a reference, if you provide the key terms or the name of the title, name of the research paper that you have to cite, so it would probably have a reference, a well-prepared reference within the repository itself. All you have to do is copy and paste it. So such kind of copy pasting is at least allowed here, and for that these things are prepared for you. But the point here is these resources are available for you if that manual reference making becomes difficult for you.
As discussed last time, proper citation of the source is key to avoiding plagiarized work. But let's see what citation is exactly. Citation is the documentation of the original source. It is the address to the quote and includes the author's name, year of publication, and page number of the document. There are three main reasons for citing: to give due credit to the original author, to ensure that you are not borrowing or stealing, and to enhance the credibility of your research. The things that need to be documented are exact words and phrases, ideas presented in a book, web page, or any other medium, diagrams, illustrations, pictures, or any other visual material, and quotes from an interview. The Higher Education Commission, or HEC, has a plagiarism policy of 2007, which states, to preserve academic honesty and sanctity of the degrees awarded by the universities and degree awarding institutes in Pakistan, HEC will have a zero-tolerance policy towards any kind of plagiarism. There are three methods of presentation of references within a document: as footnotes, as an endnote, or as a parenthetical reference. There are a few referencing styles to choose from in the form of formats proposed by Modern Language Association (MLA), American Psychological Association (APA), Oxford, Chicago, or Harvard universities. APA style is the most commonly used format, especially for manuscripts and social sciences. The format for referencing in APA style is presented in the following manner. Text is in Times New Roman font, whereas figures and tables are in Arial. All text is left aligned with double spaced. 1-inch margin is given on all sides, and it is printed on 8.5 by 11-inch paper. On the title page, the heading is capitalized and placed on the top left corner. The page number is given on the top right corner. The full title of the paper is center aligned, followed by the name of the author and the affiliation of the author. More information about the author is given at the bottom of the page. The abstract is the summary of the document in 150 to 250 words. It should be left aligned and justified. The reference page is formatted in a particular way as well. Center the title References at the top of the page without making it bold. Double space the reference entries. Flush left the first line of each entry and indent subsequent lines. Order entries alphabetically by author's last name. Invert author's name by placing the last name first, then followed by the initials. Capitalize all major words in journal titles. Italicize titles of books or big journals. Do not italicize, underline, or use quotation marks around titles of shorter works such as journal articles or essays. Now, Steve is clear about plagiarism and citation. Hope you are too.
With this, I come towards the end. I know how technical these lectures, the last 2 lectures were, including this one, but I'm sure it's going to be very much helpful for you in future. And this brings me to the end of our today's lecture, lecture number 24. Hope that you enjoyed it. I know it was a bit difficult, confusing, a bit tricky, but try to use those resources as I use them too. So till that, take good care of yourself. I'll see you in the next lecture with some more good information to come. Till that time, Assalamu alaikum and thank you.